Episode 3 starts with Rebecca waking up before her alarm, looking extremely excited for the day. She rushes into work, sits in her office, opens the paper, and nothing. She can't find anything on the story of Ted and Keely, so her plan did not make the news yet. She immediately calls Higgins, who's having breakfast with his family. She says, "Get in here, shithead." Breakfast with the Boss Part 3 starts, and Rebecca ends it early to try to get Ted out the door ASAP as she is trying to make up a false news story about him, and she clearly doesn't want him around to find that out. Coach Beard and Ted are then looking over the last week's performance, and they both decide it's time to start fresh with the game plan that does not involve getting the ball to Jamie and hoping that they score. Nate walks in, and he actually has a suggestion. He never thought that they'd ask his opinion, but he's ready. He has many plays written down on pieces of paper in his pocket, and they go through one that they like, which involves Jamie being a decoy, and they agree to try it out on the pitch. Then Keely finds out about the photo, so she tells Ted. She says they're being framed to make it look like they are together. Her friend at the paper gave her 1 day to deal with it. So the two walk in and tell Rebecca, saying the Sun will run it tomorrow. Rebecca looks shocked, and she says, "Don't worry, I know the owner of the Sun, and I'll have it taken down." When they leave, Rebecca is now worried that they can trace the picture back to her. On the practice field, Nate's play is run, and it works beautifully. Jamie looks pissed because the ball does not go through him, and he's being used as a decoy, but the play works, so they're going to use it. Teammates in the locker room are picking on Nate, and Roy looks really pissed off. Ted gave everyone on the team a book to read, hand selected for each player. Every player seems to take their book home except Jamie when he throws his in the trash. Jamie then jumps in on teasing Nate, so Roy walks into the coach's room and lets Ted know about the situation. Ted says he's aware of this and he's not going to do anything about it because it's only going to make matters worse for Nate if the coach is the one that steps in. Roy walks out pissed, saying, "So you're not going to do anything about it?" He's like, "Nope." And then as he walks out, Ted turns to Coach Beard and says, "Roy's the one. We need to get his trust." Roy then goes to Jamie and demands he stops picking on Nate so the others will too, since they look up to him because he's so talented and he's widely known as their best player. Jamie says he'll take care of it, but instead walks up to Colin and Isaac and says, "Keep doing what you're doing." It makes me laugh. Rebecca then tells Ted she spoke to the owner of the Sun. Ted says, "God?" And she says, "No, the newspaper." And they're not going to run the story in exchange if the Independent, another newspaper they own, will do a one on one with Ted. Trent joins Ted on the sidelines to watch practice as Sam keeps improving. Jamie is complaining about this new play on the pitch, but Roy takes Ted's side and says it's going to work. And Ted tells Crimm that the play was actually Nate's idea. In the locker room, Colin and Isaac start messing with Nate again, and Roy asks them if Jamie talked to them about leaving him alone. Roy storms out looking for Jamie, but he finds Keely. The two seem to have a mutual liking right off the bat. Trent then asks Ted about the party for Sam after their losing performance to Crystal Palace, and he says he never cared about wins and losses. Trent doesn't seem to understand this at the time, but he will later, as Trent is then invited to an event where Ted is supposed to go speak to school children who have just won a championship. Keely goes to see Rebecca and they talk about the report. Also, Keely is noticing how upset Rebecca is about Rupert getting away with all his wrongdoings, and Rebecca is being killed in the media for the way she is running the team. You can tell that Rebecca and Keely are starting to form a friendship. Ted and Trent visit the local school children, and Ted is immediately called a wanker. He congrats the school children on their championship winning season, and then he surprises the class with Roy Kent, and the whole class kind of loses their mind. He says, "Let's not talk. Let's just go outside and kick the ball around." Roy then goes up to Ted and says, "The only reason I'm here is because my niece goes to school here." And his niece actually ends up kicking Ted in the face with the football, and everyone laughs about it. Roy goes up to Ted and says, "I'm done with your mind games," and he won't go along with them. And he's counting down the days till he's gone. Trent and Ted then go for Indian food from a previous Uber driver. He was actually the one who picked him up from the airport and showed him around London before getting to the stadium. He asked for the special, and it's really hot Indian food. Immediately, Trent Crimm says, "I can't eat this." And Ted is obviously struggling too, but he wants to eat all of Trent's food as well because he doesn't want them to feel bad. As Ted is stuffing his face with hot food, Trent asks him why he would leave Kansas to coach soccer, calling him irresponsible and how trying to let him know how much it means to the town. Ted then stops and he says, "Trent, what do you love?" Trent says, "Writing." Ted says, "I love coaching. And what I said earlier about wins and losses, I really meant that. I don't only care about that, but I care about helping each player become the best version of themselves on and off the field. It's important to have someone believe in you." Trent is visibly impressed about how nice Ted is, and then Trent leaves, but Ted stays more to eat to eat more spicy food even though he can't fathom any more heat. Roy is then shown reading the book A Wrinkle in Time, which Ted Lasso gave to him, to his niece. He seems to understand why Ted gave him that specific book as he slams it. The Trent Crimm article came out, and he did say that Ted is way over his head and he doesn't know soccer. But he says if the Lasso way is wrong, it's hard to imagine being right. In a business full of people that celebrate egos, Ted reins his in. Roy then confronts Jamie about his goons who mess with Nate, all driven by him reading A Wrinkle in Time, so Ted's plan is starting to work. The episode then ends with Trent Crimm saying he can't help root for Ted Lasso, and Rebecca looks pissed off that her plan has backfired for now.
Hey, everybody, thank you so much for watching this recap. That was actually my buddy Dan from Scene Invader, so do me a favor. Head on over there and give them the subscription, not me, because they helped me out with this one. They also just have, good stuff on their channel that you should watch and check out. Make sure to like, subscribe, all that crap. Hey, go buy a mug, too, because, I got bills to pay.